This is the year that Fink beats the stomach.
Welcome to Fink Beats the Stomach, our bi-weekly take on the world of competitive eating. I'm Mike Sullivan.
And I'm James Splendori.
James, it is so hot up in the Fink loft today.
Yeah, the loft is as hot as the topics tonight. Kate's making cupcakes. We're making podcast gold. It's all getting the old temporizing.
If anyone knows how to cool down a loft, please call us at Fink Beats the Stomach.
You know who definitely will?
1-800. Who?
The cast of the first episode of Real World New York.
Was there an AC bit?
No, that they just live in the loft. Which is for sale, apparently. One of those.
Cheers to the real world.
Yeah, cheers to whoever was on the first season. One of the NYC facts on the side of, you're looking good, buddy. One of the NYC facts was like, the Real World loft is for sale.
Interesting.
Season 1.
Did it say how much
It didn't say. And also, like, that fact goes out of date pretty quickly. We're good. All right, we started the clock. We'll be in an hour and 1 minute. But yeah, it's hot. It's feeling good, though.
Yeah.
Maybe the booze isn't so helpful.
I think the booze is helping.
Great. Booze is helping.
And it's episode 90, which is a milestone of sorts.
For sure.
I don't know what to relate it to, but the obvious thing is we're close to episode number 99 in celebration of Wayne Gretzky.
Which we have his bottle here somewhere, thanks to the great one, who was also on television last night at the Toronto Raptors game, even though one never played in Toronto.
Yeah, I was going to say, even I know that.
They were just like, oh, Canada. Let's just invite them.
Sounds like a real National Basketball Association thing to do.
Truthfully, everyone in Canada is just so excited. Like, Canada. Anyone's allowed. Like, Carly Rae Jepsen's involved somehow, I'm sure.
What about Biebs? Is Biebs getting involved?
Yo, Biebs?
I know Drake is, obviously.
Biebs is busy trying to fight Tom Cruise.
I heard about that,
trying
too,
to fight Tom Cruise. Also, Biebs is kind of pretending he's not Canadian. He's really just been like, you know what? I started hanging out with Luda and Usher like 15 years ago. I'm just from America.
Well, I mean, I would more pretend to be a Canadian. I think it's a pretty cool.
You've seen me pretend.
Yeah, you love Canada.
Please.
So, all right.
Anyway,
we could trade. We could do a quick trade. You know.
Me for Biebs, I feel like is 100% fair.
I mean, it's bad for America, I would say, in that regard.
Thank you so much, Mike.
But James, speaking of, I guess, kind of travel. I have been traveling all over this great nation in the name of competitive eating.
That's right, in the name of competitive eating business.
Business travel, pleasure travel, civilian travel as well. I wasn't working at all the events.
Civilian close.
But really, the theme of today's episode is Mike's Tales from the Road. Because since we've had our last episode, I forget there was some reason why we were off our bi-weekly kilter. I think
maybe because I was in LA?
Yeah, no. There was something, I don't know, whatever.
Anyway.
But since we've last recorded, I have been at 3 different Major League Eating contests.
Which is, that's a lot for this short time.
2019, going to a lot of contests, and it will continue as we go down the road.
Oh, yeah.
I got to host 2 of them. I had a blast at all of them. So I wanted to kind of go through because as customary with this time of year, there's so much competitive eating going on.
It's getting hot in the circuit, too.
The road to Coney,
Badu,
is, there's only 3 or 4 more qualifiers left, I believe.
Yeah, see this. I don't want to go on the high horse or the whatever it's called. Soapbox, dude. It is hot up here. Now it's like, oh, we're gonna rush all these together. There's only 3 more. But why are we doing them in like August? I mean, why are we doing them like August of last year? Maybe there's a reason for it.
Wow.
Because now I'm like, oh, we got 4 left. It's only like a couple weeks. Like, I like the frenzied pace a little bit, but I also wish that like maybe we spaced them out a little bit. But whatever. What do I know?
Yeah, I mean, because we haven't been tracking it, I could say as closely. Like, obviously, every qualifier, if I'm available to watch it, I will watch it. If a stream is available, I will watch it.
Less likely to happen.
But in previous years, we've done a lot more. We've done spotlights. We've done this. So it's snuck up on me that all of a sudden, we're less than 30 days from July 4th. We're like 2 to 3 weeks from July 4th.
That feels good.
So we will definitely do some sort of roundtable Road to Coney recap of some sort.
Square table maybe this time around.
Maybe a rectangular table.
Someone's just going to be right in front of the camera with their back to it.
But I do want to focus on some of the contests that I was able to go to. And as a way to do that, I wanted to go through them in chronological order.
Okay.
And I have one sort of major talking point that I wanted to kind of bring to the table and kind of see where it takes us.
There had to have been a theme for the bit where they send kids around the world in Wonder Chosen. Wasn't there like a thing with
We're
the
talking about beat kids?
Maybe it was. But like to me, this is a real like kids on the beat, beat kids.
Yeah, and it's like the word of the day is.
And Mike's like, I'm out here
Yeah.
in Ottumwa, Iowa, and I'm talking to Joey Chestnut.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I did. In Ottumwa, Iowa, on June 1st, I was there for the 2019 World Championship Canteen Sandwich Eating Contest. This is really the topic for this one. My kind of emotional takeaway from my trip out to Ottumwa was the real importance of small town contests in the world of competitive eating.
Right.
And it's something, James, that we have talked about a lot on the show.
One of my favorite things about it, despite being a big city boy,
You are a
small
big
town
city.
contest.
Yeah, and I can't think of another small town contest that really we've been able to go to that would really qualify as a small town contest.
No.
So it was really cool to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And so this was the second year of the Canteen Sandwich Eating Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Gideon the Truth OG set the world record winning the inaugural event. I believe he ate 18 and a half sandwiches in 10 minutes.
Which is a lot of sandwiches, and I'm not going to do it this time because you actually showed me what they look like.
Yes.
They're thick. Like they're meaty.
Yeah, everyone, a lot of people have been asking me, what is a canteen sandwich? And really the best way to describe it, the most accurate way to describe it, is a loose meat hamburger.
Like a sloppy Joe, no? I mean,
Similar to it. I don't remember the last time that I've had a sloppy Joe. I'm actually gonna pull up some Google image if you put canteen sandwich.
It's like a sloppy Joe without the sloppy Joe sauce.
Yeah, it's ground beef cooked in grease and oil
It's a
and
less sloppy
deliciousness. Put on a bun that is slathered with ketchup, mustard, and there are pickles and onions on it as well. The onions might be cooked with the meat, and I think the pickles might be added, but I don't know that for sure.
yeah, on the sandwich that they're eating in the contest.
And true with the contest as well.
Wow, it's weird to put like real condiments on. Like,
Yes.
oh, we're gonna put like pickles and onion. Like that's as close to picnic style to me as these things really get.
And they
So that's
were,
cool.
and this was a discussion. They were able to separate meat and bun,
So not really picnic style
but
rules,
but they weren't able to dunk.
love it.
And I reiterated time and time again that I was going to have to be very strict and
Very firm on that.
very firm, very strict, and really brutal in terms of deductions. Because it was such
was this good Mike, bad Mike?
trying to be
Wow.
trying to be a little bit meaner out there on the circuit. You can't be friends with everyone.
I mean, speaking of real world, I'm not here to make friends. Although, did they say that on that show, or is that more of like a competition show?
It's like a bachelor thing. Like, are you here for the right reasons?
Well, Kate, are you here for the right reasons? Always, she says. But I feel like that's maybe more of a challenge thing. Like, I'm not here to make friends.
Yeah.
Because real world, you kind of were there to make friends.
I mean, it was a social experiment.
I mean, right? I mean, why else do you go?
Bunch of strangers living in a house,
Yeah, I mean, what happens when people stop being fake and start getting
being
real, and then
Stop
becoming
being friends and start being real.
Stop being polite.
Oh, it's polite. I knew I wasn't
You're
getting that right.
such a big fan. No.
And, yeah, who knew?
Um.
A big KT fan.
So I had to be strict in that regard, but
Mhm.
yes, I also felt like, wow, we're dressing these sandwiches because I emceed the Speedy contest
That's right.
last year, I believe.
Another fake sandwich.
And there was it was just the meat and the bread. When we went to pork roll, meat and the bread.
Which is still one of the grossest things life to date I've ever seen.
meat and bread or just pork roll?
The whole pork roll contest. That felt like it was cheapening it. That's not a competitive eating contest to me. Even though, like, obviously I came up in hot dogs, we were separating, like,
I came up.
I can meet. But seeing, I was like, this doesn't even look like what the food is. And you're not doing the sponsor justice. You're not doing the
Yeah.
eater justice. So I like that they're like, no, we're gonna make a sandwich.
No.
And plus, this is our thing. We're a small town.
They are very proud in Ottumwa of the canteen sandwich.
Yeah.
And they are very proud of an establishment named Canteen Lunch in the Alley, which was established, I believe, in 1927. And it is such a landmark. I don't know if it's officially a landmark, but it is such an institution in the city that there's a parking garage that was built like around it. Like it's
Whoa.
basically nestled, like the back eighth of the building is covered by an overpass of the parking garage.
Yeah, you know they had to like go to the city for like a variance for that.
There was a real town meeting talking about
yeah,
this whole thing.
100, and like you know what, unanimous.
Yeah.
It was a real like Parks and Rec where they're like check under your seats and they give them like the bars. They're just like, all right guys,
Everyone got coupons.
everyone got like come on down. We'll show you what it's gonna be. The renderings are great. Of course, a local architect did them.
Absolutely.
Local contractor,
The
local labor.
person who's like
people to work.
grandson helped design the original Canteen lunch in the alley.
110%. And then they like there's a little plaque. You can barely see it, but if you're from the town, you know.
You know exactly.
Right in the back, that's like Joe and Joe Jr. Canteen.
Joe Archibald.
Yes, 110%.
So they're very proud.
Anyway,
I got to meet the owners. They were the not third generation, but third owners. I guess is
Okay.
been sold off and changed hands. And they were
that's
just
kind of a bummer.
yeah, but
bummer,
it seemed I didn't get the full story, but it seemed that it just stayed in the community.
The right
It wasn't necessarily like
tradition,
a family lineage, but it was a community lineage, and it was people who continued to want to continue the tradition of Canteen lunch.
Like, do you remember in the first barbershop where he was going to turn the barbershop into a strip club?
No, but okay.
Anyway,
I never saw. Yeah,
classic.
but I
So-
believe you. This is 1, 2, 3.
I believe this is the first one.
Okay.
You never saw Barbershop?
I know this is
You
insane.
did, Kate?
Of course.
Oh, shoot.
So anyway, he's like, oh, the only part of the deal Ice Cube makes is like the only thing you have to do is keep it. He says you have to make sure it still says barbershop on the door when you walk in. And the mean guy's like, yeah, it's gonna be the name of the strip club, barbershop. And like he was gonna have like all of the girls dressed as like fake barbers and all that. So anyway, it's not really about who owns it. It's about keeping it as Ice Cube in that movie, or in this case, Joe Archibald or whatever his name is, wanted it.
Joe
I don't know whatever we named him.
That is the
Whatever.
name of
It's about the spirit of the place, not necessarily who owns it.
yeah, and I was very taken aback by, going into it. I'm like, okay, I'm flying to Des Moines, Iowa.
Yep.
I'm driving an hour and a half to 2 hours to Ottumwa. I'm going to this, small building that sells these sandwiches
With a parking garage.
with a parking garage. There's no that I knew about. There was no other event going on. It was
Okay.
just the thing. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, like we'll see how big the crowd is. We'll see whatever. The alleyway, essentially. I mean,
Yeah.
it's wide. It's not, but the alley that it is in was packed to the brim.
Amazing.
With fans. And actually, I think this article, yeah, you could see the parking garage as well.
They're like hanging from the rafter. Are those people up there?
Come on. Oh, there we go.
Oh, this is straight up like when Dr. J played it like the Rucker. This is unbelievable.
So we got people up here, people down here. This is the canteen in the back.
Wow.
Encircling.
So for the people who are listening, essentially there's just way more people than you expect. Like I don't know how else to describe it.
Right.
There's people everywhere you can look in what is ultimately not a huge expanse, but like this is not a huge town.
And these people were psyched about the event. And you can see a lot of the baby blue shirts.
Uh-huh.
Those are people who were volunteers who were there
Amazing.
just to help out with setting up the stage and getting the food ready. And there were people manning like a small tent that were selling T-shirts for the event, some other merchandise from Canteen Lunch in the Alley. So super cool. Everyone really proud. We didn't even mention up the top. Joey Chestnut took home the championship.
Yeah, you gave them what they wanted. Like that's
Setting a world record, 28 and a half sandwiches in 10 minutes.
okay.
You can see Gideon Oji in the back. Happy for him.
Really shattered Gideon's record.
Yes, and that is the name of the article.
Right.
Chestnut obliterates Canteen record.
Also, what's great about anyone who's watching this on YouTube is you're learning a lot about Mike's shopping habits. A lot of native ads in here.
Amazon, Avis. Yeah, Avis and Amazon. Where do you think I get my rental cars from when I do
That's
WWE
hilarious.
contests? So Joey Chestnut winning, Gideon coming in second place, 19, beating his record from last year, but of course not enough to beat Joey. Matt Hazard with 13.75.
Now confirmed no Tom at this.
No Tom at the event. Kate
Bummer.
and everyone else was disappointed. Although we love Matt Hazard.
Yep.
We also love Tom.
A little bit of name confusion there at the bottom, though.
What is
Alex
that?
Nieves. Is this like Bizarro Juan Nieve?
Juan Yave, who
Nieve?
ate in
Yeah,
the
I always say it
canteen
wrong.
in the canteen sandwich contest last year.
So, I mean, I feel like it's him with a mustache. He's like, I
No,
don't know.
Alex actually, interestingly enough, is a friend of Matt Rabel.
Amazing.
So both from Peoria, Illinois, and
That's wonderful.
so Alex came to eat in the contest through
Awesome.
Matt's suggestion. But I want to call out fourth place Magic Mike Johnson, who ate 10 canteen sandwiches. I believe he ate 8 or 8.5 the year prior. He's from down the road in Bloomfield, Iowa.
Amazing.
About 15, 20 minutes. A huge fan of competitive eating.
Awesome. So
and-
obviously a fan of us.
And well, he weirdly didn't mention to me that he knew Fink Pizza's stomach. I don't know. But Mike had done some local press talking about how he ate in last year's contest. He was
awesome.
so excited to come back. He was amped up that Joey was coming. He was talking to me after the contest and saying how, he saw Joey at like the local bar the night before.
Local?
He was like, he's such a great guy,
He is.
salt of the earth. This, he was giving me tips. What a guy. Da, da, da. So
And he talking about Joey Chestnut, the same.
Joey Chestnuts?
Wait, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me at all. But anyway,
Dude, talk to Magic Mike if you want to dispute it. But I just want to give a huge shout out to Magic Mike because the small town contest and the small town contest eater,
Yep.
and not to of course downplay Magic Mike because he got 4th place in the contest, so he took home a couple shekels.
And he's been practicing.
He beat out Matt Rabel, a world ranked eater. So
according to Major League Eating.
really awesome to see. And,
Yeah.
like I said, a proud crew out in Ottumwa. They were so psyched for us to be there. Yeah, I had a blast.
That's truthfully that's why the league exists.
Absolutely.
Like we could do Nathan's all day. We could do the sitting in the back of ballroom in Turkey in Foxwoods and love it. But these are really the special ones.
I agree.
So I'm very glad. One, I'm glad they got a good show not only from Joey Josh Chestnut, but from one Mikey Sullivan.
I'm trying to think. It probably actually, you know what? It wasn't my best contest in the sense of it was so hot that
It's getting there.
so we were on the stage. You could see from the photo an uncovered stage. It was about 90 degrees.
Oh,
So first contest I believe that I've ever done without the blazer.
it's necessary.
So I got the approval from Sam Barclay.
Did you
I
get
just wanna
written
know.
approval from him?
So the story.
I like to think that you have to think you have to text him.
Well,
and have
I
a
don't- I
full
don't.
yes before you can.
I don't and I didn't. Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
He is a tough judge.
But I will say that when I was in Memphis for Moon Pies a few years
Yeah.
ago, I didn't take my blazer
Which
off.
I'm still shocked at.
Because in my head, I'm like, you have to keep the blazer.
They're
It's
gonna
the
see a
logo, it's
picture
the
of
whole
this
thing."
when they got fired.
And Sam was just very plainly like, you should have taken the blazer off. Like, obviously, we don't want you to pass out. Like, your health is more important than the one photo someone might take of you. Like,
I appreciate it. You just have to wear the hat.
So you have to wear the hat. You
mean,
have to wear that. So this time I was like, okay, this is one where I feel I've gotten the pre-approval.
And
But
plus, you made up for your sort of lax stress with being very strict on the rules.
yes, it was the I feel like the most thorough I've ever been.
That's good. All right.
And I know that there are some people who may not agree with the judge's call, and we're going to talk about that with a future
Can
contest.
you name
definitely.
specifically what their name is?
No,
No,
I won't do it. But
That's off the record.
what I always say is, you may not agree with the number, but I'm going to do everything in my power to be precise enough that the placing matters.
Right.
So you might think that if I'm going to deduct you a whole sandwich, that it should have been 3/4, but I'm going to deduct a whole sandwich from you, and you.
Right.
So at least the placing will be correct.
Also, just don't talk back to a ref in general.
I mean, I will say as an MC, what I normally do is I look through, I make a call myself, I look at the eater and kind of say, what do you think? Do you agree with this? Yes or no?
How much
So,
will you pay me to make this number
I mean,
different?
what can you place me a few shekels?
Exactly.
I cannot be bought.
But if he can be bought, you should ask me what the number is. My phone number is.
James can be bought.
I can 100% be bought, and I can convince Mike of anything.
Luckily, you were not on the stage with me to do a little put a little
And-
single in my pocket.
That's some good small town stuff of you being like
A little side.
you being like Tammany Hall, being like I can get him to do it. Like I'll be at the local bar the night before, and be like, all right, Mikey Mike, what do you got for me,
Mikey
pal?
Mike, man.
And also, if I could convince you of anything, this podcast would be so weird.
We probably wouldn't be doing it at this point.
No, we wouldn't.
Because you would have convinced me, like, Mike, stop. Why are we still doing it?
No, we would be doing it next to Kate, just downstairs next to the AC, being like,
But as a last note
Sorry,
that I
I'm
feel
all
is
over that.
really important, the mayor,
That's
the mayor
right.
of Ottumwa, Tom Lazio, came up on the stage, was taking photos with Joey, came over, shook my hand, said I did a good job. That's how you know you did a good contest, when the mayor of the city gives you.
He's
the
gonna have
tip of the hat.
the key to the city next year.
I felt I was like one drink away with him to be able to get that.
You know what I
Next
can't wait
year,
for?
next
And I
year.
know you were going to tell me this regardless of whether I brought this up on the show or not. Next year you're gonna walk up and go, Tom, and give him like the world's
Mayor Lazio.
Oh, you're calling Mayor Lazio?
There, I will. Until we get the opportunity to go to the watering hole, maybe I'll say, Mayor Lazio, I don't know what your normal drink
And
is,
he'll go,
but I see that there's some 99 up on the shelf. I don't know if you've had it, but if you're a fan of the great one, you'll be a fan of this one.
and he'll go, first of all, Mike, love the great one, met the great one, we're buddies. Second
He
of all,
comes to Ottumwa every summer.
second of all, call me Tom. And that's how
And
it
then
happens.
Tom.
Then,
It's Tom.
then it's never
On
not
the
Tom.
microphone, at that point, Mayor Lazio, and then off the microphone, Tom. Yeah.
You old so-and-so. That's going to be a couple of those.
So I would go to MC, be a part of any small town contest. It is, in my opinion, really the lifeblood of competitive eating.
Yeah.
Because, it's the fans of the ridiculousness who care about the contest and are so excited to see the eaters, whether it be, of course, people were excited to see Joey Chestnut. They were excited for Gideon to make a return.
The truth.
They were excited for their local heroes like Mike Johnson. So it was a lot of fun.
And local pride, because it's in local food.
Absolutely. And we had a lot of local people in there.
Whoa.
A gentleman named Russ Argo, who is a local radio MC.
Local radio name I've ever heard.
Right?
He had
Okay,
he
people off mic, she said, and I quote, that's the most local radio name I've ever heard.
Russ Argo. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he was a late edition, and he talked to me, and he told me the name of his radio show is going smooth down the highway or something.
No.
It's getting you through your work week, 'cause it's from 2 to 4.
I would hope it'd be like Rush Hour Russ.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Playing the smooth oldies.
So this is one,
Kate loves
James, I would love for you to be at next year.
Yo, I gotta go to one of these.
You
with
would like this one.
again, because you need a handler to be taking fake bribes that you will never ever see the money of.
Absolutely. Next up, James, was this past weekend. I was in one of my favorite cities in this great union, San Diego, California, for the Salvation Army National Donut Day World Donut Eating Championship. Happened on June 7th, 2019. This is the third year that this contest took place. The first year that it happened in San Diego.
Really?
Yes.
But it was on a previously on a battleship, no?
No. I don't know. I'm trying to... What do you
watched a weird stream on a ship.
The shrimp eating contest.
Oh.
The San Pedro World Shrimp Eating Championship happened in San Pedro, which I believe is not far from San Diego.
Now, I thought that
and
this
that
was
happened on a
technically-
battleship.
I thought that this was technically in international
And also,
waters.
this was not on a battleship. This
Oh,
is,
wasn't
and this is something that Sam and I spoke about, is an aircraft carrier.
First of all,
He said, he's like, Mike, don't call it a battleship.
This is also.
And I did not.
Why do you think one of us has this job and one of us doesn't?
I mean, you would prepare. I
Stop.
prepared.
One, I would have called it a battleship, 110%. Two, I thought it was in international waters, and that would have been way cooler.
I mean, one day.
One day.
It's also not a battleship if it carried aircraft into war.
Yeah, but it's an aircraft carrier.
So
It can't battle anyone.
Into war.
But if you stand on top of it and go poo 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 poo,
It can't shoot back at you.
Well,
It can't be like,
No, it's just a
No,
war
but-
efficient battleship.
Anyway, if anyone's in, around, or near the military, or Tommy McKenna, if you're still listening to the show,
it is an aircraft carrier.
let us know the difference between a battleship and an aircraft carrier.
I will say, playing the board game Battleship,
Never played it. Not a nerd.
there's a battleship and there's an aircraft
Never
carrier.
played Battleship?
No, I didn't do weird stuff when I was a kid like that.
But they're two separate pieces in the game.
That's fair.
And you know what? Truthfully, if Rihanna starred in the major motion picture, then it has to be true.
Absolutely.
And I believe she did in the film Battleship.
She did. Rihanna was not there for the Salvation Army National Donut
Well,
Day
she was
World
on
Donut
the
Eating
battleship.
because she wasn't on the aircraft carrier.
carrier.
So this took place on the USS Midway,
Nice.
and that was really, again, my topic, my takeaway of this contest of what ridiculous and incredible venues that some competitive eating contests occur on.
And this is also another funny bit of, is the Salvation Army an army? Because you were on an aircraft carrier. But the Salvation Army is not, as far as I know, a member of the armed forces.
Well, the Salvation Army is a Christian-based organization that
I love it.
supports veterans and the military.
Okay, now this makes way more sense.
And one of the things that they were known for in their past history was during World War One, they sent out women to represent the Salvation Army. They had some sort of cool name. I don't remember what it was. Into over to Europe and so on, and gave them donuts and coffee as a little bit of taste of home.
Oh,
So there's this history
wow.
of donuts with the Salvation Army, and I know that there's a Salvation Army donut recipe.
Huh.
And don't
If it was
quote
during
me
World
on.
War I, it's like flour, water.
Well,
Like,
I
there's no way
believe it
there-
was specifically created to be able to do like in the field with like minimal
Yeah,
ingredients.
like,
but
or-
that part I could be completely making up.
Did you do this like before you left, or like you had to find someone told you this when you showed up?
No, I did a little bit of research myself. I try to, I want to know like what the organization's
Sure.
about and so on.
And well, wait, what? Can you tell me more about the USS Midway?
So the USS, yes, I can.
This is actually, I'm not doing this for a bit. I'm legitimately.
So the USS Midway, which again, the aircraft carrier that we
Not a
have the
battleship.
contest, yeah. The USS Midway, of course, named after, but not involved in, named after the famous battle in World War II.
Yep.
In the Pacific Theater, as Miss Vincent would say. And
Gentlemen,
it saw action during the Vietnam War, also Operation Desert Storm. It was in the Persian Gulf.
heard of both of those?
And at some point, and I found this out at the contest, it was in Japan. And the way I found out that it was in Japan, which might have been during peace times, but was because a gentleman by
Yeah,
the
you would be a good history teacher.
No, I wouldn't. I just memorized this one thing because of competitive eating.
What do you think being a history teacher
Yeah,
is?
true. Because of competitive eating?
Yeah.
Is that an insult?
No, you memorize a bunch of stuff and then you make you tell other people in interesting ways what it was.
It's true.
Is that not what he's doing right now?
Yeah, here I am. So the way I found out about the Japan part is a gentleman by the name of Andy Ortiz. So similar to Russ Argo,
Yep.
sometimes you have late additions to the contest. You leave a spot open in your mind and on your cue cards for a sponsor edition because they're hosting the event. Usually they
Like
get
a sponsor's exemption?
in a way,
Oh, yeah, I do.
where they're able to add someone from their local organization, so on and so forth.
A local.
So the Salvation Army wanted to, / the USS Midway added a gentleman by the name of Andy Ortiz, who immediately was a very, very nice guy. He seems really excited. He's like, yeah, whatever. Turns out when he was 18 years old,
I wanted to do this math. Okay.
he was stationed on the USS Midway while it was in active duty from 1976 to 1979, if I remember correctly. Mr. Ortiz served on the USS Midway, which is now a museum in I don't know if it's technically San Diego Bay,
International waters.
in the water in San Diego, and shows up again in 2019. I'm sure he goes there often. I know he lives in San Diego. For a donut eating contest.
Yeah, but so I just did
40
that.
years later.
He's got to be in his 60s.
He seemed like a. I mean,
That was 43 years ago, and he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he ended up eating 11 donuts in 8 minutes, which is, as we say, nothing to sneeze at.
Again,
And I feel like I'm gonna sneeze.
In his 60s, eating 11, on this is unbelievable. This is to me. If we were gonna go the WWE route and start like making MLE sponsored movies, we would like do a story with him, and it would end with him eating on the ship. On the carrier that he worked on.
The carrier.
The carrier.
Let me tell you, it's probably a ship.
Because that's such a
Welcome to my ship.
my ship. It's such a nice thing. Like, it had to be so nice for him, and he was of course a sweetheart.
He was such a nice guy.
But what a cool thing. Good for him, and also showing up doing really well.
I see that there's a video of some kind. I'm gonna mute
Starring one Andy Ortiz.
because we don't have sound here. Well, we're not like plugged in, but you can kind of see. I've not watched this video, but so here we are. Matt Stoney won the competition, 46 donuts in 8 minutes,
Which is a lot.
short of his 48 personal record and 55 world record set by Joey Chestnut. But here on the stage, Doug X, a gentleman by the name of Derek Hendrickson, who I definitely want to talk about. Of course, Michelle, the Carpet Shell Eskimo, the Leopard Lesko, also on the stage.
Oh, Mikey Sell cleaning up with a nice clean beard.
Matt Hazard, Mickey Sudo, Mary Bowers, Doug X, Sergio Rea, a lot of Major League Eating folks.
One Mary Bowers,
One Mary Bowers,
who just beat out our favorite Andy Ortiz by half a donut.
We're just gonna get rid of this.
Which is great. I mean, good for Andy. I'm so tickled by this idea.
It was really cool, and I found out right before the contest. So again, I always I keep an intro open. I have a few like stock intros I
Sure.
could do if they're a random person. But for him, when I found that out, I literally I went up, I introduced him first.
Sure.
I just was like, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most incredible things that's ever happened to
Right,
me
'cause there's no,
hosting
like-
a contest.
There's no like backhanded bit
Yeah.
with him, yeah.
And so however he got a big reaction, and then as he was like waving, he got a kind of a more building, almost like standing ovation
Hell
type
yeah.
of thing. So we kind of let it ride for a little bit. It was awesome. So Andy Ortiz, again, Matt Stoney, 46, Matt Hazard with 43.
And again, no Tom.
No Tom. No Tom in San Diego.
That's a bummer. But 3 and 4, the ladies back. Ladies first.
Mickey Suda, Michelle Lesko, very, very close from a donut standpoint.
Again, you're firm on the deductions.
I'm firm on the deductions. This was a very hard contest to do deductions for one Mickey Sudo, I will say.
Okay.
Many people are commenting. You can see it in the video. Mickey Sudo is a wild donut eater, I will say.
And she's got the pony. Is she
the
is
angry
she rocking
pony.
it?
She was rocking the angry pony. So, we came to an agreement, and I believe I deducted her quite a bit. I believe I deducted her at least 2 donuts there.
Fair is fair.
But so it was very close between her and Michelle. And I also give a shout out before we go past it. Matt Hazard, highest ranking in a professional contest, second place, and only 3 donuts behind Matt Stoney. Matt v. Matt was a close battle.
I'm looking
on
forward
the
to
USS Midway.
Actually, we're gonna go top 4s. This is not super interesting. Matt, Mickey, Michelle. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All the M's.
Whoa.
Eminem.
And you must have had a real tongue twister situation during all those.
But I'm a professional, so I was able to handle it.
100%. And also, and this is, I swear, I joke only because I know you are so past this and so professional.
Thank you.
No screw ups on all these in terms of the name situations. You've moved fully past the yips you could have had. 'Cause I know it.
Yeah.
I know you were bothered by it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you had Joey and OG again.
Oh yes.
Nailed it.
Yes.
Nailed it. Then you have Matt and Matt again. Nailed it.
I did.
You passed it.
I've come up with some techniques to be able to make sure I'm announcing the right winner.
You like
in the
hit
contest.
the first name really hard. Like hits. Yeah. Nice. It's like the Dame Judi Dench thing
What's the Dame
on
Judi Dench
AFE.
thing?
Like
I
if you,
don't-
if you try to say Dame Judi Dench like 10 times in a row,
Dame Judi Dench, yeah.
you have to hit the Dame really hard so that the rest of the names don't even mean anything. You have to just stick it.
It's tough. It can become tough sometimes. But I do want to give a shout out. 5th place, Derek Hendrickson, Heavy D, as he goes by on social media. This is a gentleman who I started to notice became very active on social media. He's eaten in a few Major League Eating contests, Able Skeevers. He was in a hot dog qualifier. But this was his first contest after signing with Major League Eating. 99. So technically his first pro contest. He has an interesting story. He has a YouTube channel, and like I said, he's big on social media. He lost over 100 pounds of body weight.
Wow.
He was what he calls himself a fat kid.
But he's not Heavy D anymore.
And the doctor basically like scared him straight and was like, okay, you really need to like do something about this.
Sure.
So he took to, like weightlifting, body, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily seem to be like bodybuilding in sense, but like huge into weightlifting and dieting and so on. So he's a very like inspirational story. And Derek, I don't know if I got to tell you this in person, nor I don't know if you noticed this either, but during his introduction, I saw on one of his social media bios, he had a quote that says, well, now I'm all about lifting weights and cleaning plates. And I said that during the intro, and it got got an audible laugh from the crowd. So Derek, thank you for that material. I'm glad that the crowd got to respond to you for that. And another funny thing with Derek is he has this like bit that he's trying to build that I don't totally know the angle that he's trying to take.
Is he trying to make a name for himself?
He is trying to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
Heavy D is that name. And he has like the Thor like axe/hammer from Avengers Infinity War.
Or from Able Skeevers?
Or maybe from Abel's, which might have been why he bought it.
I was gonna say that's the
but
logo,
I don't
right?
know.
Yeah.
And he tried to bring it on, like you could see him on social media. He has it.
Right.
Like there was a photo of him signing his MLE contract. He was holding the.
You can't bring that onto an aircraft
He
carrier.
tries to bring it on, and they were like, no. Like, and he was like, this is a children's toy. Like it's foam. Like that's a weapon. Like you can't do it. So he said he was like, okay, like I get it. Yeah. Left it. Like they were like, we'll just put it on this chair. So literally on this chair that like no one was sitting at. Outside in like the parking lot, so we walked out and it was still there, thankfully. So he grabbed.
Well, because he actually can summon it back to his hand at any time.
Right, so he wasn't that.
That's the Thor bit, right?
Yes,
okay,
it's good for you.
Also, I believe that on a battleship, you
Or
can
an aircraft
bring
carrier?
that.
Oh,
on an aircraft carrier, not kosher.
That's no, because who are you trying to fight here?
Exactly.
We're just trying to get planes around.
Could trip up those wires that they'd use to stop them.
But no, Derek was a super nice guy. So excited to be in the world of competitive eating. He was excited to meet a lot of the eaters that he hadn't met before. For some reason, he was like semi-excited to meet me, which I was like, dude, like I'm like the loser in all this.
Dude,
like,
he mentioned Fink Pizza Stomach.
He did mention
Hell
Fink
yeah.
Pizza Stomach.
Big shout outs, Derek.
So I believe Derek is listening, which is
I'm
great.
excited to meet him if he knows that.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I can't remember if it was him or someone. I know at some point someone was talking to me about the Santa Cruz qualifier.
Okay.
So maybe we'll see him. Who knows?
That'd be great.
But I know we'll be seeing him out on the circuit again. So welcome to MLE, Derek. It's good to have you.
Big shouts.
And of course, shout out to Doug X, Mary Bowers. Doug X, I had a really fun. He's a huge wrestling fan. So him and I talk on social media about wrestling. And do you know what a Too Sweet is, James?
No.
So
And I'm sure most of the people listening don't ask.
So Too Sweet is a thing that started in the earlier days of wrestling. I believe it started with the NWO. So like Kevin Nash, Scott Hall,
Is that
exactly.
like
So you do this, and then you go Too Sweet.
Oh, whoa, wow. I was just doing the bit.
And now, there's some like indie wrestlers that have really like taken it and like as almost like a wink, wink, like smarky thing, like yo, Too Sweet me, bro, like too as like a callback, but also. So we're on the stage. Going through, I do his whole intro, and I'm like, yo, Doug, like, Too Sweet.
Nice.
Too Sweet on stage, which is, with great power, comes an abuse of that power, and that was my abuse for that contest.
Truthfully, your abuse of power is not as far as
I try to still for this.
I know I'll never get you into the bribe game, but I want you to step up. I mean, that's such a sweet thing. Be weirder with it.
It was fun. Doug posted a clip of that on social media, so you could check that out if you want to see
Delightful. And that's for the kids.
But yeah, like I know we keep having these talking points that we don't really stick to, but what an incredible thing to host a donut eating contest on an aircraft carrier that served our country, like a piece of American history, on a work day. It was a Friday.
10:30 a.m.
It was 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. It was really cool, and I know the people from the Salvation Army were psyched up. The people from Bake Mark, who provide the donuts, psyched up, and the USS Midway, they right after the contest went up to the contact at Salvation Army and said, "We're doing it again."
Amazing.
On the USS Midway next year.
Great.
So
Has everything to do with the host. You're in
probably
charge.
not.
You're running the
I mean,
show.
Matt Stoney did his work.
Has a lot to do with the host.
Did his work as well. Do you want to move on?
Let's do another one.
So our final contest, and here's one that could get a little controversial.
Well, you know what? Kish.
Kashish. The 2019 Malted Barley World Pretzel Eating Championship, which went down Providence, Rhode Island,
Now
on
back in the
June
East
8th.
Coast.
On the East Coast, the following day. So I flew out around 3 p.m., as did Matt Hazard flew out a little bit earlier. He had a layover and then flew into Providence. Mickey Sudo flew out a little bit after. I don't know whether she had a layover or not. And I landed in New York, JFK Airport, at around midnight.
Yikes.
Got home, went to bed, woke up, probably around like 8:30. Kate and I got in the car.
Yeah, the dedication is real in this one.
God bless my wife, Catherine, for driving to Providence. Yeah, I was pretty hungover because I will say that on my Delta flight, I got upgraded for being just like a nice guy, and
Really?
it's like a long story that I'll tell. But it was just basically be polite to people in the airline industry,
I remember that.
and like without trying, they were like, "We have an extra seat in Comfort Plus, like if you want." Like I was like, "Oh, it's like extra legroom." They're like, "Yeah, and free booze for the entire flight." So I'm just like,
Mike, I knew you were gonna say that.
so I was a little hungover,
I love it.
but I
So I
made it
love
through.
you were like, I'm not. Like, oh, it's good for the legroom. You're like, no, I'm gonna drink on this flight.
Yeah, I'm getting free booze. Like they had Woodford,
Nice.
so I had like a little bottles.
Now
of
I heard
Woodford.
on Canada Air they actually have the 99
They have
Gretzky.
99. So anyway, so yes, the dedication drove up, going to visit Thomas Murphy and his soon-to-be wife Olivia Benini. They live in Providence, so psyched up that not only they were going to be there,
Right.
we're visiting them, but also Jack Murphy, Kate's other brother,
Classic.
and Kate's parents also went up.
Sweethearts.
So we had this big family affair going to PVD Fest, Providence Fest, which is an art festival type of street fair.
Yeah, one of
thing.
these things is really not like the other at that concert.
Yeah,
at that
well,
festival.
it's like it's very art based. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people like selling art, installations, sculptures, all that sort of stuff. A lot of musical performance, so art
Oh.
in that sense.
Okay.
But also there was in the center of town of the city, in front of City Hall, is kind of a big roundabout, and there was just a ton of food trucks.
Okay.
And within that was a little side stage that they would have like DJs, random DJs there, and then this is where they had the pretzel eating contest.
Got it. Okay, so there's like at least a little corner where it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it was within like the food of
Got it.
everything. And this is where they held the inaugural World Pretzel Eating Championship. hosted by Malted Barley, which is a local Providence restaurant, craft beer hall where they obviously make pretzels as well.
They look delicious.
They were, the competition pretzels I can't speak to, but we went to Malted Barley
Nice.
in the evening, and their actual pretzels are amazing.
I mean, the pretzels were slow. Everybody knows that.
Pretzels were slow. But, so let's just cut right to it. So, Jeff Esper,
Kid.
coming off...
Almost at home. I mean, this is almost May.
It's a close contest for him, yeah. Coming off of his win against Joey Chestnut at the Hostess World Donut Eating Contest the day before, also a National Donut Day.
Thick foods for this guy.
Yes, a lot of carbs. He's really
No.
carbo-loading here.
Oh, come on.
He ate 26 pretzels in 8 minutes.
Just a lot. 'cause
Nick-
Those are thick.
Oh, yeah. They were the big, soft pretzels.
Like, what you wait in line for at the Duck Stadium for roughly 25 minutes to a half hour.
those were braids, weren't they?
Oh, they were. That's right. It wasn't even that
I'm
big.
talking like Annie Ann's pretzel size, like just
Yeah.
bigger size soft pretzels,
Yep.
thicker than Annie Ann's.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that was the other interesting thing. No one knew, the world record. We were going to set a world record because it was the first one, and it could have been 50. It could have been 20. No one really knew.
And that's the fun thing about
I
like, a
love
new
it.
contest or people who like, oh, how many do you think someone could eat? And people would be like, 40, and it's like 500, or like 500 and it's 40. It's
Exactly.
Fun. Yeah.
So Esper ate 26, comfortably beating Nick Wary with 18.5. Nick Wary's highest ranking in a professional competition. So congrats to Nick.
Boys working
we're
their
big
way
fans
up.
of you here. Matt Hazard and Gideon Oji tying with 18.
Now confirmed, no time.
Also confirmed no time. 3 contests with Matt Hazard, I'm not realizing.
Also confirmed Gideon drove.
So, I don't know the full story.
No one ever does.
But what I have gathered without verifying it with Gideon, because I just find Gideon always kind of wants to fight the Fink brothers, so that's,
Usually it's
try to
me,
keep a good rapport with them.
but yeah, one of us has to be on his
I
right
believe Gideon missed his flight to Austin, Texas, where he was supposed to be at the donut contest.
side. Love him so much.
And because I believe his flight was supposed to be from Texas to Providence, he instead drove
As one does.
from Georgia to Rhode Island. I believe I'm very positive he missed his flight. I'm not positive about the driving part.
It makes me feel stressed. Thinking, you were with me the only time I've ever missed a flight in my whole life.
Yeah,
And the only reason I wasn't mortified is because we were together and as hungover as one could be.
Sorry.
It's just, Gideon, buddy.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, the Fink brothers, we love you. If you're
Obviously.
listening, I'm sure you're not. We love you. This is why we care. But what's going on, dude?
I don't know.
Not the story here.
But he did get to
made
the
it.
pretzel contest
He made
early, it seems. Tied with Matt. Mickey Sudo, 4th place with 17. George Chigger with 14.
Yeah, Chigger also. What a guy.
The Mountain.
I love
Everyone
this
calls
dude.
him the Mountain of competitive eating. It was great seeing George. Wish I could have talked to him a little bit more, but it was great seeing him.
Always.
And of course, the big man, the bad man, Badlands Booker with 8. A couple local people, including the owner of Malted Barley, and Tracy Dickerson, coming all the way from Miami. I was glad I got to introduce myself to her.
Yeah.
She's super sweet. Didn't get to talk to her too much, so I don't know what brought her from Miami up to this
Well,
contest.
everyone
of all
knows
things.
Providence is beautiful this time.
It is. I mean, it is. It is. So the contest goes down, and immediately, well, I could say during the contest, Sam is calling out to Mickey multiple times during the contest. Mickey, you're on debris watch. You're on debris. You gotta look out for debris. Like that's, because I will.
Through line of this episode, debris.
Debris. It's tough. And that's what I think one of the jobs of the MC is to keep an eye and give the ear a heads up
Sure.
when there is debris,
Just tighten up.
Yeah, because, as Joey famously says, you get into a rhythm and you just keep it going. And
He usually says he was not able
he
to
either
get
did
through
or
it.
he didn't.
Right.
And you keep going. So you want to,
Keep going
maybe
until
your
it ends.
your eyes are closed, you're going, you're squirming around, you got music. So it's good to have someone be like, hey, debris, check that out. So partially the job of the MC, and Sam does it better than anyone. So he's warning. The other thing, to give full context to this contest, they did not have enough room at the table.
It's not a bit. Oh, I guess it was a small thing.
They essentially had 2 fold-out tables
Oh.
for 10 eaters, or really for 11 eaters, and
Where was the 11th eater?
it's just because Hazard and Gideon.
Oh,
da. For 11 eaters, and you also had the biggest men in competitive
Yeah, I
eating
mean,
between
Chigger's 2 guys, Eris.
Badlands, Weary, Chigger, Esper's
And
wide.
Gideon's elbows need,
Gideon,
like 3 feet,
So you
yeah.
had these like large dudes. Hazard, we know, hits the gym. So it was tough.
Hazard stays lean.
Right. This wasn't like Stony, Pseudo, Lesko, Carmen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So Carmine.
Carmine Cincati, I believe, is he's coming back, right? Is that?
Talk to Tribeca Film Festival.
Oh well.
But so in the beginning, I mean they haven't called like Gideon out yet, and they're already. It looks like there's no space left at the table. They have,
Which one Crazy Legs Conti will tell you the trick is to put people at the short ends.
which is what they ended up doing.
That's what he told me at Iceland.
That's what they ended up doing. But it was tough. They were
Still,
kind of on
that's
top of each other. And then you have some of the Gideon and Mickey are both famously known for being very like wild, messier eaters. They're ripping it,
Well,
they're they're very physical.
The problem with Gideon is it takes him so long to get the food from.
Right. So it's this whole movement and so on.
It's like a pulley system, really, at a certain point.
So you knew going in there was pretzels flying everywhere and so on. So Sam specifically was focusing, I think, on Mickey through the contest. He definitely called her out. I'm sure he mentioned it to other people too, but again, Mickey was the one that stands out. And you can tell, they go through the judging, and you can tell that Mickey was not happy.
Yep.
You could see like Gideon not being super psyched. And everyone just kind of, you knew like it was tough.
I have a sip of water. Do you need it?
Thank you, if you don't mind. Yeah.
I don't mind at all.
Whew, it's tough podcasting.
Yeah, you know what? Hot up here.
It is hot. So they're going through, and again, like, I can't imagine what I would have done in those shoes, because that is the most stressful thing about being an MC is judging the contest.
Right.
And Sam, in my opinion, is just the best
Consummate pro.
of that. So you could tell he was kind of talking to them and saying, okay, this, and this, and making calls and so on. And it's unfortunate. Like at the end of the day, it's hard to make those calls. It's hard to tag what debris is who and so on, and it's even worse, of course, when it's in close quarters. But you make the best judgment call that
Now,
you
were
can.
they dunking these?
They were allowed to dunk them,
Okay.
but there is a similar to donuts. I didn't mention this. There's essentially a 5-second dunking rule,
Sure.
which I interpret mostly as a judge. I interpret that mostly as you can't just put your donut or your pretzel in the water.
But no
and let
one's
it
really
soak up.
dunking for 5 seconds. Like, it's just there's not enough time in a contest.
Exactly. So it's more that time limit is just so you don't like just start putting stuff and try to like drink it or something or so no one. It's hard to obviously just be like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
and be an MC and be like you can't do that. So Sam called people out on that too. He can see everything at the table. It's pretty unbelievable. But they weren't happy, and there is an article by the Providence Journal that interviewed Mickey after the contest, and she was pretty upset. And I don't know if she wasn't necessarily, because I talked to her a little bit. She wasn't necessarily like upset with Sam per se or a particular eater, whether whoever was on the sides of her that she felt maybe was there to be or not. It's of course just a frustrating thing when you travel coast to coast, and she's gonna go back to the other coast.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go your way, and Mickey getting 4th place with 17, so close to Hazard and Gideon with 18,
And even Nick with 18.5.
and yeah, exactly, yeah, and
Like,
even
the debris really changes 2 through what's 4 and 4A.
So that's a couple $100 that could change hands one way or another.
Right.
And again, you can look the day before, and I could have called donuts like one way or another, and that could have been the difference between Michelle and Mickey.
Right.
Because they were pretty close with Hazard not too far behind. So it was interesting. It was cool to see. Because again, for me, I always you always hope as a judge that there's just clear division between everyone, because then the minutia of each number, of course, doesn't matter as much. But also the way I do it, and I'm sure the way Sam does it, you just go down the table. So you look at one plate, you do it, you move on. You go to that one plate. You're not like remembering in the back of your head like this person had 12.
Right, because then you start to do recency bias.
Yeah, which
or,
my mind goes blank because I'm just trying to go from one to the next, and it's not until I have the paper in front of me and go, oh crap, the top 2 people are tied. I didn't even realize that. Or maybe I should get
Which is truly the fairest way to do it. It has to be.
Absolutely. So it was interesting in that it made me think about how competitive eating is a sport where, by design, and we've had the Nathan's controversy and so on. For the most part, it's just the MC, who is also entertaining and doing all these other things, it is his and hopefully one day her discretion.
Hey, 2019.
That they make the call and say like this is what it is. And it got me thinking about other sports.
Yeah.
Because I know there are some sports that rely a little bit heavier on technology. You can challenge things. You can look at replays and so
Actually,
on.
the other way around. It's really funny because as it won't surprise you that I didn't actually get that far in this paper before I had this conversation today. But the World Cup was on today. I guess they actually call it the Women's World Cup, which is a whole different thing. But I'm sure there's like copyright why you can't just call it the World Cup again. Whatever. So the Women's World Cup was on today, and in a game that's remarkably built around like sort of rough math, like you're like, oh, we're gonna do 3 minute stoppage time, and like it can kind of end whenever we want to, and like there's really only like 1-2 major rules, like offsides is this, and you have to do this as a goal. Everything else is like kind of fluffy, right? But this year they're using VAR, like video replay, for handballs in the box, which gets you a penalty kick. When a lot of the times, since the beginning of football, soccer, they've just been like, oh, well, like, yeah, hit your arm, but like you didn't really mean to do a handball, so like we're not really going to call it. So it got to be more art, like 99.9% of the rest of the game is. So now you put science into art, and there's all of these penalty kicks. So it's like, if you're going to use VAR for that stuff, it's like one of these things is not like the other. So if you did like super mathematical judging on something like debris, it's all sort of art. Like, is that really 5 seconds? Like, is that really a full dog? Like, I think it's also telling that in Nathan's, they really don't do debris deductions as much, or at least you don't see it as much.
Well, I'm sure they do them.
The number you get on the counter is usually the number you basically get.
Besides the most recent year, but every other year from what we've seen, they've been pretty. Because at Nathan's, there's 1 to 2 people that are actually watching and judging.
Do you think they're actually doing debris in real time?
No, they're definitely not.
So to me, like, what happens...
You're right, actually, then,
This is another thing, like, because right now the NBA Finals are happening, like, when it comes to, like, crunch time, everything kind of goes out the window and you're just like, we're going to do it. So to me, like, those are the lowest common denominator rules. Like, I'm going to get too deep into this, but like in the very last minute or like last 3 minutes of the game last night, they called like a moving screen on the Warriors, which is like minutia of a foul that no one ever calls. And the like rule of thumb is you never call it at the end of a playoff game, especially at the end of a finals game, because like everything kind of just goes out the window. And that's the same thing for Nathan's. Like, you don't really want your biggest thing to come down to minutia. So those to me are like the most important rules because they're what dictate your most important day.
Yeah.
So doing like 90% of the contest, or like we're going to do strict debris and then throwing it out the window in Nathan's is kind of like, maybe we should throw it out the window all the time.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Nathan's thing because I just don't know.
Right.
Because you can make an argument that there's only 3 people that have counters, and those people are really good at managing their debris.
One of those is Mickey Sudo, by the way, who's maybe not so good at managing her debris.
Correct, and it's something I'm now gonna watch now
Right.
that you said it, because I can't fully dispute it. I mean, obviously, I don't think that George or whoever is doing the judging, because again, Nathan's is one of those unique ones in the sense of, yes, you have the Bunnettes counting, but
Right.
they're reading off of a counter that's actually watching.
So unless you're positing like those people are picking up debris, which maybe they are,
they're not going to.
but that's the job
how-
of an MC. Like, that's not
Correct.
the job of that guy.
But it's the job of the MC after,
Right.
to actually figure it out and deduct it. It's the job of the MC during anything that's not July 4th to at least call people out.
Right.
But I also think like hot dogs are a hard food to have debris unless you're a certain kind of eater. Like, I've seen people, like, I'm trying to think in my day, like Eric Denmark and Rich Lefevre had pretty messy plates when I was there in Vegas. I'm sure Pepper Letty seems like he would be a messy hot dog eater, but he's
got a messy basically.
Yeah, he's a mess in life. We love him. But yeah, it's tough, and it's even it reminded me the crawfish eating championship happened, and Pete DeVicus, who, like, legend of the sport, he apparently they did crawfish by weight. And one of the things that they did to, I think it was Michelle and Mickey Michelle and Brian were explaining this to me. Great seeing Brian, by the way, out in San Diego. where for some reason there was a full beer on the tray, and they weighed the trays before and after, but they didn't weigh it before because they had all the crawfish.
Right.
But to like maybe weigh down the tray or something, they put it on there during the contest.
Okay.
And Pete didn't take the beer off.
Okay.
So when they weighed his crawfish, it added in the weight of the beer.
Oh, that's like such an easy mistake.
So there's like stuff like that can always like, because you have either an MC making an eyeball call, you have weighing, you have having an individual judge for each and every single person. Like you have a way to somehow start doing some sort of like video thing for competitive
Which
eating.
is
like,
definitely not the way to go.
like where do you draw the line? And this is something we talked about with July 4th last year, and even with Ken Hoffman, especially when there's money on the line and like, changing hands. Like, what is the balance? Like, where do you find balance?
Right, and maybe that's ultimately why like the finals and Nathan's don't call bullshit, because it's like there's too much money on the line. But like, I understand why you call it different ways in other contests. But to me, the most important things are what you do on your biggest day. So, like, maybe I get that, like, it's a super easy way to cheat to have debris, but, like, then we should be doing debris on Nathan's. Maybe that's not really the point of this conversation, but, like, if debris is debris,
again,
is debris.
I feel like there is debris in it. I don't know.
And
but
we'll never get a straight answer from MLE on it because, of course, that's just not their business.
I mean, the only thing that I can say is the 3 Nathan's qualifiers I've been involved in, there were deductions for debris.
And I'm not claiming sort of anything
By July
untoward.
4th, of course.
I just feel like that's just not the way they operate the contest. In my view of what we've seen, in the
they
couple
do
years
make
ago.
deductions. I know they do.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking back. Remember there was the Mickey and Joey cam on ESPN3?
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point. On one of the cameras, I feel like it was the Mickey pseudo cam because we're talking about Mickey.
I mean, we watched that closely with those guys.
There was the Bum Boys.
The Bum Boys.
There was one of the judges, it wasn't a judge. It was like a reporter or someone in the crowd, got into like a little bit of an argument with one of the officials.
Okay.
And was like, "Oh, it's 38 and a half, it's 38," and they were like, "No, like it's 39, like we counted the thing and we did this," and like they talked about, so like there is debris, but to your point, maybe they only do debris if it's like egregious,
right?
Like maybe they're not going through, I don't know.
And then back to, because I took us on like a rampage that's not particularly helpful, I don't think, but back to your point, like it is all art, like none of it is science, and like trying to make it science is like a false sense of accuracy. It's just not ever going to happen.
Right.
So
it's always gonna be, it's in its current form, it's always gonna be subjective.
110%. And I actually think that there's, like VAR and like soccer, it's what it is. Like trying to pretend like it's going to be science is lying to you and to the eaters. So I get why Mickey's gonna be upset, but like exactly like you said, maybe she got 4th here, but got 3rd in the other one. It's like it all equals itself out.
Correct.
No one's out to get Mickey. No one's out to get whoever.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't
I'm not
think.
saying
Exactly. I don't think she thought that either.
No one's out to get anybody who's gotten the deductions.
Yes.
It all comes out in the wash.
It boils down to, and of course, I'm saying this from a standpoint of I'm one of the people that has to make this call a few times a year.
Right.
It all comes down to intent, and 100%. I know myself, and Sam, and Rich, and George have the right intent in a sense of like there's nothing that anyone gets out of screwing over one person or another or doing it. And again, it happens so fast and you go through that I don't know. I mean, like George, Rich, and Sam are way better at this than I am, that maybe they have an ability to no, it's true though. I mean, and they've been doing it a lot longer and so on. But I mean, here's what I could say. The fact that this controversy happened, so to speak, happened when Sam was the MC just shows that like it's inevitable because I personally believe in this regard Sam is the best that there is, and I know that he cares about a lot of those people up on that stage, and especially someone like Mickey who's been around forever, and you know it's not like it was just some like random person that he has no relationship with. So yeah, and to your point, I feel like it evens out in the wash, like you can maybe be more mad about certain contests than others when there's more money on the line, and it makes that much bigger of a difference. But something like this, it's like you said, she got 4th place here, but easily could have got 4th place on Friday too, and she ended up getting 3rd.
And also, like, the bottom line is this is entertainment. Like, yes, we've had this sport conversation in the last, how long have we been doing this podcast? 5 years, 6 years.
I don't think 6.
But like, it's entertainment. If you want you to be up on the stage counting every single thing and weighing debris and allocating debris, everyone would be there for 20 minutes and everyone would leave.
But don't you could say that about basketball, and
100%.
that's I think the argument that people make about why are you calling every single foul? Let them play the game.
Right.
Because that's what people are
It's
here
why
to do.
everything's not reviewable. Like,
Correct.
every time the NFL adds something to review, everyone's like, the games are so long. Like,
Correct.
No, all right, great. So let's cut them out because ultimately everyone's here to watch the sport and like have fun. If it was about the rules, then they would review every basket and they would review everything and the game would be 6 hours long. So like everyone's there to have a good time. So ultimately, if you want to get 16.75 pretzels, you're gonna ruin the whole thing.
Right.
And I don't think anyone's ever.
And again, to paint the picture of if you have a group of people
Yeah.
in the hot sun
Yep.
in Providence, Rhode Island,
The Murphys are there.
Murphys
trying
are
to enjoy
there
their day.
seeing their first contest, they're questioning, why did we let our daughter marry this freak?
Right.
Going through the whole thing.
Oh, they wouldn't call you that.
And then to have Sam Barclay say, guys, I know you just got really revved up by my amazing intros.
Yeah, but let's take 20.
I know you were psyched up about this contest. I know all you want to do is know who wins so that you can go and have another beer and like watch like the weirdo like rap group that's playing down the street. But hold on, wait like 20 minutes for us to do the whole thing for you guys to find out whether Jeff Esper ate 26 or 25.75.
100%.
So no, it's true. So it was just an interesting thing, like an interesting insight to see into behind the curtain. And again, you don't want anyone to go home unhappy, but and it was the first time the contest. I'm sure things like that's what you learn as you go along. Like they will have an extra table for those eaters next year, and so we'll see. But yeah, dude, it was a marathon of competitive eating for me.
Welcome back to the real world. You were flying in the clouds, baby.
Yeah, dude, a lot of flights, but it was great. And honestly, 3 very different contests.
Yeah.
A few similar eaters, like a Matt Hazard showing up at all 3.
Not town.
But it did, not to get too sentimental because no one cares. But like, I saw on the circuit some of, not all, some of my favorite people in the world of competitive eating at these past 3 contests, and I'm just it makes me, coming out of these past like 2-3 weeks, whatever this time frame is, it just makes me like so happy that we got involved in this, like the people that we see. It makes me excited for the 4th because a lot of these people are coming into town.
And as we mentioned, it came like that.
Dude,
so it's nice to
really
be like, oh, sick. This is good to look forward to.
So speaking of what's to look forward to, I don't really know. Like we'll probably have a quick conversation after this.
Yeah.
We have to figure out what our recording schedule is going to be because, again, as a bi-weekly podcast, we have basically one more episode before July 4th, I believe.
Wow.
We have to look at how the calendar shakes out.
Yeah. I'm not going to do it now, but yeah.
We're going to figure it out of whether we're going to come back and do a regular episode or maybe our next episode might be the round table. We also have to figure out when our post-Coney episode is going to be because I'm going to Bermuda right after and then Third Eye Blind, the whole thing. So on our social media, if you care, we might lay that out, or as always, you'll just see when our next episode goes up.
Yep.
But I can say that there's a lot of amazing contests going on.
Yep.
And we've talked about a lot of them over the past few months. I'm really excited for July 4th and Coney Island.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I can't even get myself into it yet.
It doesn't seem real.
No, it's just like, oh, it's just getting hot. Like, great, phenomenal. It's already going to be July. But as soon as we started mentioning it, I got really excited. So, regardless of whether we do 100 episodes like we used to, which we won't, or we just do one, or we do a round table, or we don't, or whatever, trust that we're going to be excited and we're going to be talking about it, and I'll be tweeting about it from my real account.
Whoa.
Mike will be tweeting about it, I'm sure, from Fink Beats the Stomach. And we're going to try to deliver something to everybody who's actually still paying attention to the road to Coney Yabadoo.
So the best way for you guys to keep up with all that is, of course, to go to twitter.com/FBTSpod. You also go to the same place on Instagram. Those are probably the 2 places that we are most active.
Yep.
I
think on Insta.
Yeah, I would say so. And
Cool.
and next up, if you guys want to reach out to us, we only get a few emails every so often, but I love it's like such a direct way to engage with the show. So feel free to send us an email. Mm-hmm. It's an electronic snail mail, and you can of course do that by going to Fink Beats the Stomach or sending it to finkbeatsthestomach@gmail.com. And then if only there was another social media platform that we're pretty active in. if other people were more, I'm sure it would bring us in more. But
Thanks.
with so many things that
Thanks.
we go through, there's a lot.
Thanks.
It could be a home for a lot of those things. James, what would that look
Yeah,
like?
Mike, it's too hot up here right now. It's going to be facebook.com/FinkPizzaStomach. That's where you go. You know where it is.
Absolutely. So guys, that's it. Episode 90. A lot of contests in the book. More contests coming up. I'm sure there's something like this weekend that I'm not. Actually, I do know. There's another qualifier. There's the Strawberry Shortcake Eating Festival coming
Long
up.
Island.
Yeah, on Long Island, and we're unfortunately not going. It's a long story. There's a lot going on. But stick tuned. We're gonna tweet out all that sort of stuff. We want to talk about it. You guys engage us. #FinkFanForum. Like, please do it. And we thank you guys, of course, for all the support, and most importantly, for listening or watching to this episode of Fink Beats the Stomach.
Stay cool, everybody.